and welcome to Borgcast Lower Decks 2.6 with Anne-Marie and Peter.
Hello.
And we've got the season finale.
Yes.
Finale in more ways than one. Cetacean Ops. Finale.
Fins.
Oh,
okay. Wow.
I'm tired and I've had beer, can you tell?
So first contact then.
Yes.
Captain's log, stardate 58130.6. The Cerritos has rendezvoused with the Archimedes and my old friend Captain Sonia Gomez so that we can assist in her first contact of the Leperians.
The lab system is fairly unassuming. A gas giant, couple Class Js, obviously our new Class M, and an unstable planetoid right here, just off its ecliptic.
The Cerritos will be positioned outside the system.
Isn't that overly cautious for a planetoid?
Carol, I know Callie Class isn't afraid of getting their nacelles dirty. We just don't want multiple ships approaching at once, or the Leperians might mistake first contact for a first invasion.
Of course.
Once formalities are complete, the Cerritos can install subspace transponders and join us for a celebration with the locals.
I'll tell Sickbay to brace for hangovers.
So you start with, I'm sure we've seen it before, but I love it whenever they do it on Lower Decks, the mushroom station.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have seen the station that looks as close to the original mushroom one as this one. There have been variations.
Oh, pretties. And we get to see Captain Sonia Gomez, the one who spilt hot chocolate everywhere.
Yes.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along, you sexy thing.
From Q-Who and Samaritan Snare in Next Generation. So something of a deep cut there. Played by Alicia Nath. Unfortunate surname.
Now, I was wondering, though, whether that's the same person. It's not the same person who played her in Next Gen.
It is.
Is
Yes,
it?
yes.
Oh, awesome. They got the same person.
They have. Her voice is changed a bit, but then she's a bit
Well, it would
older.
do. Yeah.
She was also in Total Recall. She was a receptionist who was changing her nails.
Oh,
Yes, and in the first Lethal Weapon film as well.
cool.
And she's the captain of the USS Archimedes, which is an Obina class.
Ribena class.
No, Obina. Named after art designer Nolan Obina. It's very similar to the Excelsior, but supposed to be bigger, apparently.
Oh, I thought it was an Excelsior.
It's a variation on it in the same way as the Enterprise B was a variation on it as well.
Oh, fair enough. So they meet and they're talking about how they've got a first contact mission with now what were they called?
Lapidians or something? Hang on, I'll look it up.
I keep wanting to say labia and that's wrong.
No, they're not the Labians. Wouldn't want to see that design, really.
Well, they did look a bit fishy.
Ooh.
Sorry.
Yeah, Lapirians.
That's better. Yeah. And the idea is that the Cerritos is there to provide support, but it's not going to be there initially because don't want to make a first contact look like an invasion. But then they say, oh, but you must be looking forward to the good news. And it turns out that she's got a promotion, but she can't take her senior staff with her. Starfleet likes continuity, so the staff will stay on the ship and just she will be promoted, which I think fits, doesn't it, anyway, with what we've seen of Starfleet before.
Yes, I think so.
But Mariner is overhearing this from hidden behind a bush. And then, meanwhile, Boimler is cutting up letters and doing the craft for Captain Freeman Day. And they make the references, it's just for children. And
All the way through this episode.
all the way through. Of course, it reminds me of Captain Picard Day, which is obviously...
The banner is very similar.
Very. And then you've got... Now, I get mixed up, and I know I shouldn't, but I do, between Stevens and Billups. I think it's Stevens who thinks the waitress is interested in him.
No, that's Billups.
Okay, but he shouldn't be because
Billups
he
is
has
chief
sex.
engineering.
Yeah, but if he has sex, he has to...
Yeah, I don't know. He should sound a bit more concerned about that, I can't help feeling, but there you go.
Yeah. Anyway, they're just like, no, she's not interested at all. And Mariner scooches over and they're like, this is taken. And she's like, yeah, but I've got, some intel that you might want. Meanwhile...
When she told the other lower decks about Freeman getting a promotion, she said, she was panicking because she thought that they'd end up with some weird captain, like someone with a riding crop.
Oh, yes.
Which is a reference to Captain Styles of the Excelsior in Star Trek 3, who did indeed have a riding crop for no damn good reason.
Oh, I thought it was a reference to Picard and his lover's horses.
No. Star Trek 3.
Okay, fine. Oh, he's weird as fuck. Yeah, did he use his crop to ride someone in the naked time? He's got that S&M vibe with that tash, hasn't he? And meanwhile, Taana has summoned Tendi, and she's sort of sneaking while Tendi's talking to someone else and watches her file be deleted, and she thinks she's going to have to leave the Cerritos. And you've got Rutherford with these alerts keeping appearing that blocking his vision, and he keeps sort of ignoring them. And she's like, oh no, they're going to take me off the ship. And Rutherford's like, well, then you need to visit all the important places before you go, which is really sweet. So you've got a little subplot. I'll just get this out of the way now, because it's quick and easy. The little subplot is that Tendi thinks she's leaving, so Rutherford is trying to show her all the different places on the ship that they've bonded over, but he keeps generating even more and more alerts, and the reason that that's happening is because after he lost all his memories of Tendi the previous year, he's made triple backups of everything, and he doesn't have any memory left, which is really sweet. What's important, I presume, for the future, I presume it's not a throwaway thing, is that when he deletes the extraneous files, just before he reloads again, there's people putting some kind of probe and saying, oh no, we're going to make him think it's elective. And I didn't know whether that's something additional or whether they're going to make him think he chose the implant and the whole entire implant was not actually his choice.
Well, yes, there's obviously some sort of mystery being seeded for the next season on this. And some of the flashbacks he gets, by the way, are episodes we've already seen, but some of them are scenes that we haven't seen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yes, including Ransom modelling naked for a sort of life drawing class. Yeah, somebody actually got that on a freeze frame.
I didn't spot that. I think I'm quite glad.
Yes.
Anyway, so it turns out that the senior staff are not taking well to Freeman's moving, and they start getting all childish and sulky, don't they, on the bridge?
Yeah, Billups absolutely loses it.
I swear, it's brilliant. He just goes utterly apeshit.
Command doesn't like shuffling crews off California class.
Oh, that's such f***ing bullshit. We are just as good as any other f***ing class. Our warp works twice as f***ing fast as any other ship in the fleet.
Whoa!
Brilliant. And then, meanwhile, I had my note said Excelsior class because I didn't realise it was a Ribena class. So the Ribena class...
No, Obina.
I'm calling it Ribena class. The Ribena class is in the lap system, but then Boimler, who's on the bridge at... Is he Con or Ops? I never know.
He's at Con.
Okay.
He's at Con.
He spots this unusual solar activity, which then strikes a moon or a planetoid and then results in everything going wrong. And you watch the Archimedes be hit and then just completely spin out of control. And the combination of momentum and the gravity of the planet they're supposed to be visiting means that they're now going to be on a collision course.
Yeah, and all their it's an EMP burst, so all their
they've got no way out of it, nothing they can do. And then, one thing I did want to mention, just because I'm like, the what now? And I did a double take. When you've got Rutherford and Tendi and they're talking about all the places they're going to go, and they say, we're going to go to the forbidden place, and she goes, the rubber ducky room.
Yes, now, this is a reference to the Master Systems display on the Enterprise D, which did indeed have a rubber duck on it. You could never see...
Have we got that on our poster?
No, that's not the Master Systems display from the series. That's a cross-section drawing thingy. That hasn't got cetacean ops in it either, which is...
we had a blueprint at one point, that did.
We might have somewhere, yes. And that might well have the rubber ducky in it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It didn't become obvious until the Blu-rays came out, and then people could quite clearly see there's a rubber ducky on it, so yes.
Oh, okay. Anyway, sorry, that was just in my notes earlier, and I just wrote it down because it was just like, was that really what was it? So meanwhile, on the Cerritos, they're like, we've got to do something. What are we going to do? And one of the things that, what's his name? Not Shaps.
Keishon.
That's it. Keishon's like, we could just warp out of it.
Warp around the thing. That's the whole thing, yeah. It's like, that's the obvious solution. But apparently he gets shouted down for that. It's like, why?
Yeah.
That's the obvious thing to do.
Yeah. You get Mariner and her mum have a flaming row about the fact that she's leaving, and Mariner's like, I never want to see you again. And then, of course, there's now jeopardy because that's the way these things work. But they're rowing on the captain's yacht. It would appear that's where they go to row, except that's also the actual forbidden place that Tendi and Rutherford have gone. So they overhear it, and you get Freeman saying, you've got to let down your defences to let people in. And Rutherford suddenly just, without even thinking about it, just opens the door where they've been hiding and goes, yes, that's it, let down the defences. And the answer, apparently, is that they've got to turn turn off all their shielding and get rid of all their hull plating, and then they'll be able to go through the debris field and out the other side and rescue the Archimedes. So then you get Freeman going, yes, that's brilliant, that will work. And so it's like, we're going to need everybody. And what is it? Cerritos Strong appears to be their motto. Anyway, you get various shots of various people being called to... it can't be battle stations because they're not fighting. Action stations, I suppose. And one of the people you see is a woman with a Geordie visor.
Yeah, she crops up from time to time.
It was the first time I spotted her.
All right.
And then my notes run out.
That's okay, because I'm taking over now.
Oh, that's all right.
One of the things they have to do, carry all the explosives deeper into the ship, obviously. So Shax is charged with that. Nothing explodes around here unless I'm blowing it up.
Nice.
Which is brilliant. Then all the crew are wearing spacesuits, which is sensible.
Well, if they're going to have no bloody...
protection, yeah. Although, of course, that was something that the live-action series could never afford. So.
No.
They detach their view screen in order to see our instrumentation, which will have consequences later on.
Now, was that really necessary, or was it done so that the plot could happen?
It seemed to have been necessary, because if you notice, they station Mariner and Jen on either side of where the view screen was, and they're sort of pointing out, not Riker has got like a readout on his helmet, which obviously has its own independent power supply, but... ultimately, he's also relying on them to spot things for them, and they're sort of calling out, at 2:00 and stuff like that. So, they kind of explain that. I mean, I suppose you could argue this is one of the few times that it would have made sense for them to have had a backup view screen that was just a giant window like you get in the JJ prize. But anyway. Captain Gomez is trying to get one of their shuttles working, the Adonis. So kind of fits with the Archimedes, doesn't it? Or Greek. And her named crewman, which is a shame because he seems quite cool, suggests she take a break, but she points out that she's going to get one in 7 hours, one way or another. And he's like, oh, why is that? Oh, yeah, of course. The Ritos, by now, is completely naked, which is a weird look. There's something very Hellraiser about it, actually.
Yes!
Frank in Hellraiser.
Yeah.
This is a Halloween Ritos. Freeman continues to try and persuade Mariner to open up to other people, but her daughter tells her she never wants to work with her again. Billups finds a whole plate they can't detach and curses with a dragon's blood, which is a nice reference back to his heritage. Ransom seems to be piloting the ship with a joystick. It does look much better than the Kempston one we saw in Insurrection.
It is very not Riker, though, isn't it?
Yeah. But the problem is there's no way he can control all the planes of movement on a starship with just one joystick. He should have one on either arm of the chair.
It should be like PlayStation controller, one for each thumb.
Exactly, yeah. So, one for each arm of the chair. That would work, but there we go.
Okay. I would still fuck it up.
Rutherford keeps running into walls because of his implant problems. He deletes his excess memories and then gets, as you mentioned, a flashback to the surgeons operating on him. The lower decks meet up in Cetacean Ops. Yay! They've been promising this all season. Finally, we get to see it. Apparently, it's a reference to Sequest DSV, which we never watched because they had a dolphin or something on board, didn't they? We meet Kimolu.
They did. I think it was a bottlenose dolphin. These are beluga whales.
They are Kimolu and Matt, who get their own science uniforms, although they clearly know very little about human anatomy, as it turns out. Mariner confesses that the real reason she's mad at her mum is because this is the best they've got along with for years, which actually makes sense.
Yeah.
You actually feel sorry for her in this episode. Shocking. Tendy gets her to see sense, which is cool. Boimler has to swim a long way to release the clamps, releasing the stuck panel from the inside. He asks the whales if they're doing anything for Captain Freeman Day, and they point out that's just for calves.
Love that. When
he does get the panel free, it rips his suit, and the whales have to rescue him, and then Tendy has to do CPR. I saw a koala, he confesses. She tells him to keep that to himself, as a reference to Moist Vessel, of course. Mariner apologises to her mum, who apologises too, which is sweet. But then the ship is knocked by an asteroid, and she flies out through the gap where the view screen was, but is saved at the last minute by Jennifer the Andorian, who she sort of bumped into at the start of the episode and had the usual sort of cross
There's
interaction.
been a running thing, hasn't it? At least all season, if not from the one before as well.
Captain Gomez orders her crew to the rear of the ship in the hopes they'll survive the crash, but they stand by her. But then the Ritos flies into the rescue. Freeman gets to do the first contact for a change, and receives a warm welcome from the Leperian leader with the promise of booze.
Oh, brilliant.
Which gets the captain a tad tipsy. Ta'ana offers Tendy a promotion that will involve bridge duty. So will she not be a lower decker anymore?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, there are other ensigns on the bridge, so possibly. But usually your science bridge officer's usually been at least a lieutenant, hasn't it? So
yeah, but You think back to the one with Picard and the Different Life. I think it's Tapestry. I think he was still thought of as a lower decker as Lieutenant Junior grade.
Yes.
So it could be
Possibly.
a promotion, but only one and still be a lower decker.
We find out the Doctor isn't a fan of Deep Space Nine as she hasn't heard of Jadzia Dax.
Oh, boo!
But is an original series fan, name-dropping Spock.
Yay.
And they hug, which is very sweet.
And then she goes,
Purrs.
I'm okay with this, and purrs. It's
Yeah.
like, oh.
Boimler has changed his sign to celebrate the first contact with the Leperians. Mariner rightly thanks Jennifer, who drags her off to chat with the Lower Decks posse. Mariner points out to Boimler that her mum probably assumed children did the banner, so he rushes off to put her right. That's a fun running joke that didn't overstay its welcome. Freeman tells the crew that she's turned down the transfer on the basis she doesn't want to lose them all. And when she tells the Starfleet brass her decision, she's placed under arrest by Commander Mandel, who's voiced by Jim Piddock, who was Arthur Mendelsohn in also in Independence Day and Chuck. She's accused of destroying Paraclade Planet using one of the Klingon bombs. Oh, great, we're back to Starfleet Command being dicks, aren't we?
Yeah.
Boo. And that's our season-ending cliffhanger. So last season it was Boimler leaving. This season it's the captain leaving.
Well, last season, Boimler leaving could have ended the series, and it wouldn't have been... It would have been a shame, but it wouldn't have been a problem. They can only have this sort of cliffhanger knowing they've got season 3.
Yes, this is true. This would
we know they have.
This would be a rotten cliffhanger to end the
Yeah.
series on, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The season, not so bad series, yes. But I must admit, it is a bit of a downer. I'd rather they hadn't, but there you go. But other than that, I enjoyed the episode a lot. I was particularly pleased we got to see Sedation Ops.
Yes.
And they're clearly laying some pipe for Rutherford to have some backstory revealed as well in the next season. So that's cool.
Which I like. I like that idea. And I like that Tendi got promoted. I don't have a problem with the cliffhanger because we know there's season 3. I would have serious problems with the cliffhanger if they hadn't already announced it.
Yeah.
But it's fine to have a cliffhanger at the end of a season. Lots of series do. It's just a problem if you write one and then you don't get the follow-up. Because we knew that Klingon arsehole was involved in all sorts of shady dealings. And it would have been a bit neat, I think, if all it had taken was the one Klingon lower decker to say it's all fine. Because corruption on the Klingon High Council has been a running theme throughout various iterations of Trek, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if actually the High Council knew about all of this and let it happen.
We shall see.
Will we see Worf in one of his iterations, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it would be nice if he was, the ambassador.
Yeah,
which is what he's supposed to be, thanks to Deep Space Nine, and ignore the nonsense of Star Trek Nemesis.
Yeah. I like that idea. That would be good. So I really enjoyed it. I mean, I suppose in some ways it would have been nice to celebrate with a sort of, yay, happy, happy, happy. But then I quite like cliffhangers. So I quite like that idea. We just felt turning the tables. But I think my favourite bit, to be honest, is Cetacean Ops.
Yes, that was the best.
What did other people think? Oh, we've heard from Jeff, who writes, I would not have believed you if you told me last year that the animated comedy would be my favourite new entry of Star Trek. I wouldn't have believed you. But it's genuinely funny, has some really great characters, and has a delicious icing of deep-cut references. And this episode showed again that they can do action-packed excitement too. I really appreciate that the big finale of this season wasn't another spaceship battle, but
It wasn't, yes.
Yeah.
A rescue mission. That's quite a cool way. Yeah.
but a daring rescue mission requiring ingenuity and bravery in equal measures. And we got a great cliffhanger at the end that's going to make the wait for the next season feel even longer.
It is, yes.
Do we have a rough air date for the next season?
I don't think we do yet, no.
Because it must take so bloody long to draw it all.
Yeah, there's not somebody sitting there with a crayon colouring this in, It's done by computers. But yes, it does take a while, yes. But he's got it written already, he says.
Oh.
Does Matt Damon, yeah.
Ah.
So
Do you think he minds being called Matt Damon?
I'm not particularly sure he listens to our podcast, so I don't think that's an
Probably
issue.
not.
We've also heard from Sampo.
Boy, Lower Decks sure likes to go out on top because this was another really great episode. I mean, starting to repeat myself here, but this is good kind of repeating. So I guess I have to talk about the Archimedes first. A really great design. I mean, first when I saw it from the front, I thought it was a Sovereign class. Then when I saw it from the back, I thought it was an Excelsior. And well, okay, I had to go to Memory Alpha to check that, okay, it was actually a brand new design. And actually they showed it so much love during the episode that I had a fan theory because the captain was getting a promotion, and for a while it looked like Tendi was getting transferred off the ship. I actually thought that the end result would be that the whole crew would be transferred to one of those new ships, but didn't work out that way. Another way, after the last episode, I thought this episode would continue straight from that, and this would sort of close the Packlet arc, and it did actually, but in a very surprising way, and only in the last minute of the episode. But okay, what about the episode itself? Okay, it was great. I mean, the beginning of the episode, I was a bit worried that is this going to go like Mariners being a total asshole again, but luckily she was called out on it pretty clearly and got her comeuppance, and maybe she learned something about herself. A good old sort of He-Man episode, but it felt natural, and we got to see cetacean ops for the first time, so now they really are canon. So great, dolphins in their little blue uniforms, great. And maybe the biggest problem I had with the episode, because I mean everything else was fine. I liked the character moments, I liked the action, I liked the cliffhanger at the end. Everything was great, but one thing almost sort of broke it for me, because unless I'm missing something here, space is 3-dimensional, and I really don't understand why they just couldn't go around the thing. Okay, maybe it wasn't clear, maybe it was sort of a bubble or something, but as far as I knew, it was just a barrier. I mean, if you go far enough, you should be able to sort of go around it. If someone had mentioned it, that okay, we can't do that because of X, then it would have been okay. It almost broke the episode for me, but everything else was so great and fun that I'm willing to ignore that. I mean, I guess they addressed it with the warp through it comment, but yeah, really great episode. Can't really, not really, maybe going through it beat by beat, but never mind. Okay, the cliffhanger was great, but it didn't feel that perilous, because I mean, we all know the captain didn't blow up the Packlet homeworld, and it should be pretty easy to sort of clear up. So it's a neat little cliffhanger, but I'm not super scared. It should be pretty easy to clear up. I mean, like the captain said, the truth is on their side. But let's see where they go. I mean, I'm intrigued, and more than a cliffhanger, this was another really great episode, and now I'm really looking forward to Lower Decks Season 3, so let's see when we get that. Okay, thanks for the coverage, and bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye. You're right, it's an easy enough cliffhanger to clear up because we know what the answer is, but they could potentially do a DS9 and have it last a while. You know, like when the Cardassians took over the station? Mm-hmm. And they didn't resolve it immediately. I think it took 6 episodes. I'm not saying that it would take that long in a series like Lower Decks, but they might not necessarily resolve it immediately.
They might. The most I think they'd stretch it out for would be 2 episodes.
Maybe an opening 2-parter.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, maybe it's just because clearly they can't write season openers. Mm-hmm. Because they've been the 2 most disappointing episodes.
Yes.
Right? So maybe Matt Damon's gone, I'm a bit shit at season openers. If I have a cliffhanger, it gives me an in. Mm-hmm. And then we'll avoid the disappointing first episode of season 3.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, the whole warp around the asteroid field or whatever it was, they knew that was obviously an obvious solution, hence they've got Keishon going, why don't we do that? And then everybody shouts him down, but you can't hear the reason why, because... Well, there isn't a reason why, let's face it, so...
What did the Llama God make of this?
Lammerslug, Gotti, Fixion, Jig, Gearjig. And we know Boimler lives in a world full of wonder, lying there drowning in pee. This is a great episode, finishing the season with one of the strongest episodes and one of the strongest consistent runs, I think, of any Star Trek series we've seen of late. The main plot is wonderful, I love it. It's very, very Star Trek, isn't it? I say Star Trek, it's kind of more like Thunderbirds as well in a way, but yeah, it is very Star Trek. They're on a first contact mission, there's a starship in trouble, and they have to use their brains to save the day. There's no shooty, no combat, it's just all Starfleet ingenuity, and this is wonderful stuff to see. Of course, it does help that starship that needs rescuing is a gorgeous new design. The Archimedes, I did did know what this was. I saw it on Twitter somewhere. But yes, there's a new design which looks kind of like the love child between a Sovereign class and an Excelsior class starship, and it kind of works. I like the way they've merged the details of the two classes together. I hope that Peter spent some time getting anal about spaceships on this episode. Nice to see another new design. I think last time we got the Titan in the final episode, this time we get this class of starship instead. So yeah, nice stuff. And also nice to see that Gomez, the captain of the Archimedes, is also not a dick. It's someone who's in a more prestigious command, as we've kind of been seeing about the rest of the season. But yeah, she is actually getting on with Freeman and looking forward to working with her as captain. So yeah, nice camaraderie there. This is proper Starfleet, proper Star Trek. So yeah, great stuff. I do like how when the Archimedes gets into trouble, they run through all the usual options when the starship's been hit by an exploding planet, especially when someone shouts, "Why don't you just walk past the debris?" And there's lots of shouting on the bridge as to why that can't happen, because yeah, that's the obvious one, isn't it? That's the Star Trek equivalent of why can't we use the Eagles to take the ring to Mordor? So there has to be a reason why they can't, because otherwise there's no jeopardy for the episode. But yeah, it's well thought out, and the plan they have is great. Detaching the hull, that's the kind of nerdery that I know that a few of us are really here for, and which in a way gives us another fresh looking starship for this season finale, as well as the Archimedes class. We've got that naked California class starship. I know that might excite some people on this podcast a bit more than others. So yeah, naked starships, what next? This really is the future that Roddenberry wanted, isn't it? And there's also some great character stuff as well there, with the whole dilemma with Freeman being given the promotion that she's been after all season, and seeing everyone break down over it was just great. It's not just Mariner having complicated feelings about it, it's the entire bridge crew feeling insulted and abandoned. That was just great to see. I loved all that, especially Shax's exclamation that he's glad he's so spiritually centered. So yeah, there were some wonderful moments there. And of course, by the end of the episode, Freeman has decided that she's going to stay, because of course that's the character beat that we were all waiting for, that she's realised that her home is with her family, etc, etc. Except, yes, it's the cliffhanger ending. She's actually been arrested for the destruction of Packlet Planet. So yeah, a weird left field one that. It was interesting because in a way it kind of felt like the Packlet storyline had been resolved in the previous episode after we discovered that the Klingons were the ones arming the Packlets, and it kind of felt like maybe that's where the story was going to end. But no, at the last moment the story comes in, and I'm sure this might not work for everybody, given it does seem to come out of nowhere at the end, and it does seem like a rather dumb thing for Starfleet to be arresting Freeman over. But on the other hand, Starfleet does have a history of arresting captains for really stupid reasons, so this is totally in keeping with how Starfleet behaves. So yeah, personally, I'm really hoping that they resolve this in a matter of seconds at the start of the next episode of the next season, and it actually comes to nothing in a way that some of Star Trek's greatest cliffhangers have been resolved. But yeah, we'll see. It's nice that they've got the confidence now. I mean, I know that they were going into it knowing that they were going to be renewed for the third season anyway, but it's nice to see the confidence that they know they're going away and that they will be coming back, and so we can expect to see more adventures. So that's really reassuring to see the to be continued thing. And we know it's all going to be fine, I think, isn't it? Yeah, of course it will. Also interesting to see some growth from Mariner, as there's the Andorian that she's not been getting along with and who ends up rescuing her from the hole. And yeah, do they have feelings together? I read an interview somewhere that said Mariner's sexuality has been explored at some point. So yeah, is the start of a relationship between her and Andorian girl. Sorry, I don't catch her name, I can't remember. So again, if that's the creators setting up plot lines for future series, then again, that's good to see, because it means that, we know there's more to come further down the space lane. So yeah, good stuff. But of course, the best part of this episode was, well, yes, it's the geeky stuff around the ships, but not only do we get Tendi mentioning that she's going to the rubber ducky room. That's one for anyone who's ever spent ages poring over the Starfleet technical manual or the graphics and engineering, and who amongst us hasn't. But we get to see cetacean ops. Fantastic! I don't know how many people here listen to the great derelict that Poe and I did with Andy on the Galaxy-class starship, but when I was asked where would I like to have gone on the Galaxy-class starship, my first answer was cetacean ops. I just want to see cetacean ops because it sounds ridiculous. And yes, it's absolutely ridiculous, but I loved it. This is the part of the ship that we've heard about since reading about it in the technical manual. And again, who hasn't read that holiest of tomes? Not only that, but we actually get the crew members. They are actually intelligent speaking dolphins who wear Starfleet uniforms, which is just the best thing ever. And that whole sequence, yeah, that's a fanboy's dream come true. Yeah, love it. Great props to them for this one. And yeah, possibly one of the best season cliffhangers ever, but just because of that, yeah, why not? So yeah, this is a really strong finish to what has overall, apart from a shaky first episode, been a really strong season. And echoing the sentiments from the previous podcast, yeah, I think this is becoming one of my favourite Star Trek series as well. Really looking forward to the next season. So, as ever, I'm looking forward to finding out what everyone else made of this episode. I hope everything goes well with you and your move, and Reverend, all our hopes.
Here you are.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, Cetacean Ops is utterly ridiculous, but brilliant.
It's brilliant.
Utterly brilliant. Loved it. Also, I loved Boimler afterwards when you talked about how he'd been in whale pee. I like that as well. I was like, yeah, you had. Yeah, the whole naked starships thing. Is there a Starships After Dark type?
Yes.
Not really, I don't know. And yeah, I did wonder about Mariner and Jen, whether that was a setup for a relationship.
Certainly, Tumblr, needless to say, is getting very excited about this, as you would expect. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, there was kind of a Thunderbirds feel to it, and that's no bad thing. As several people have said, it's really good that it hasn't ended with a big battle like every other Trek series does these days. There's more to Star Trek than it's good to have them occasionally, but there's more to Trek than spaceship battles. So
I think as well, because it's animated, this is filling a, what's the word I'm looking for? I think it might be niche. The other Treks we've got at the moment can't do because they're live action. It's got its own.
Could do this in the rescue mission in live action, no problem.
But you couldn't do Cetacean Ops.
Cetacean Ops would have been more of an issue, yes.
Or the last episode with the one that splits itself into 3.
Oh, the BEM thing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are things they're doing that live action can't do. Like I mentioned, having the entire crew in spacesuits, that isn't going to work.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, actually, some of the ideas they've got in Lower Decks are far more Trek than we find in Discovery and indeed Picard.
Yeah.
And those series could do it, but they just seem to resort to big spaceship battle at the end of every season.
And lots of crying in the case of Discovery.
Lots of crying, yeah. The universe is always in peril, whereas this is more low-key.
Because it's Lower Decks.
Because it's Lower Decks, and it works so much better, to be honest. I much prefer it. So, anyway. I'm
really enjoying it. I did like Picard. I have mostly enjoyed Discovery because I generally like.
There are characters in Discovery I enjoy.
Are really good.
I enjoy the characters a lot more than I enjoy the stories. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. But my favourite season, I think, has been season 2, but that's because it had Pike in it. But I do enjoy all the forms of Trek that are out at the moment. I think that what Lower Decks has done is it's made a deliberate decision to plough its own furrow.
And it's kept a lot more to the spirit of Next Generation.
Yes, it has.
You'd get rescue missions in Next Generation.
A lot of the time you would.
Think of that one where they were using that what was it, sort of warp wave thing to sort of surf through space and stuff, and they were chasing after another ship in that to rescue it, weren't they? So
there were all sorts of rescue missions in Next Gen. That seemed to be either diplomatic missions or rescue missions.
And to be honest, what you didn't get was the space battles because they couldn't pull it off on their budget. So
you got them later in Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
But that was
once they moved over to CG.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, it was all. Didn't they have Christmas decorations at one point when they were still using models for Deep Space Nine? And
that's right. Yes. I mean, there were Christmas decorations that were in the shape of the Enterprise and Birds of Prey. But yes.
But yeah, so I'm really enjoying Lower Decks. I hope I'm going to enjoy the other Treks that are out there when they come around for their next seasons too. What did Parry make of this?
Hello, Args. Parry here to talk about first contact, whatever it's called. Now, this was a cracking episode, really good season finale. I mean, I was quite surprised to see it end on a cliffhanger, but I suppose at this point, one of the upshots of, I believe the third series is confirmed, so having a confirmed next series means you can drop the cliffhanger and also the little hint at Rutherford's cybernetic implant being less than voluntary. You can drop those hints in without the fear that they're never going to be answered. So that'll be interesting. I mean, again, I was looking forward to season 3 anyway. It's been a really good season so far, but that just makes me look forward to it more. And I like the way the crew went from petty bickering. And I mean, I loved all the stuff, everyone getting annoyed with Freeman potentially leaving, Shax in particular. That if there was something, if the phasers were, if the phasers were ready, I would tell you, I am an open book. I mean, Shax is just brilliant as always, and then suddenly them all having to work together. Nice to see Sonia Gomez again. Good callback to the character, and it's one of those great callbacks. It's that sort of thing which again might annoy some people, but I actually think that's one of your ideal references for catching. So the idea being that if you're a big Trek fan, you'll sit there and go, "What's Sonia Gomez from Q who spilled the hot chocolate? Oh wow!" And everyone else, it's just it's a friend of Captain Freeman's, because they don't make a big deal about it. They don't go, the most they mention is that she's done more stupid in front of more intimidating people, but that's it. To an outside person, she could just seem like, she seems perfectly pleasant. And I like the way that, I mean, that ship, the Archimedes, I believe Matt Damon has said it's not an Excelsior class, but it looks Excelsior classish to me. It has kind of more sovereign nacelles, I'll give it that, but a nice looking ship. Now, of course, talking about ships, I mean, it's a bit pervy, but we get to see the Ritos naked. Yeah. Oh, quite filthy. And we also get to see something we never thought we'd see on screen. We get to see Cetacean Ops, the two dolphin officers. Oh, that was fantastic. And just in general, I think it had a good mix of the tension and the personal drama. Mariner and her mum's sort of arguing, and indeed it was nice for people to it's nice the crew call each other out, but they are friends. I mean, Rutherford and Tendi going around looking at her favourite bits of the ship because they thought she was being chucked out. That was lovely, and the small ship with the big warp core, I think, really exemplifies the series. I mean, I also loved when they were bickering Billups and his really aggressive reaction. He really loves the Cerritos, and I think that's what came through in this. This is a crew. It's a crew that they feel like a group of people who do get, for all that they don't like each other sometimes. Even Jennifer, we warmed to. But even with all of that, they do see, that's, you almost got that at the end. No, this is the best crew. I can't leave them because they are your friends, and that was really nice. And of course, then we get the twist that has she destroyed Packclyde planet? So it also, I like the way it didn't go. Again, I think a lot of us were thinking this would follow straight on from the last episode, and it really didn't. It almost seemed like a completely separate story. It was only that bit at the end which kind of tied in it all. So again, good on them, because I like it when it keeps me guessing. So, as a quick sum up, just my last minute or so to sum up in the series, I think this has been top. There's been some absolutely cracking episodes. It's been both fun, it's been funny, there's been bits that I've been laughing out loud, and it's been good Star Trek, which is what we're asking for. I mean, really, I think this is a series firing on all cylinders. And, we've had a couple of maybe episodes which aren't quite as good, but I think we are now judging them as not quite as good against the standards that Lower Deck set. And considering it's the daft wee comedy series off to the side, I think this does really well. So total thumbs up for me. Really enjoyed the episode. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I'll feedback on whatever Trek comes next. But until then, bye for now.
Bye, sir.
Bye. Yeah, I like the way they do deep cuts as well. I mean, exactly as you said, those of us who know are like Sonia Gomez and the hot chocolate, and those who don't are just like, yeah, it's a friend of Captain Freeman's. They're not missing anything. They're not left wondering what's going on. It's just there's an extra layer for those of us who know.
Yes. The whole thing doesn't hinge on it.
No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, which is good. And I thought it was an Excelsior class too. You're not the only one.
And Shax was really good, you're right, in this as well. Yes, he got his little scenes. Maybe not quite as much chance to shine as he did at the end of the last season, but there we go. He can't be dying at the end of every season. That would be weird.
No. And it's nice that actually it's our main Lower Decks crew who are getting the majority of the time and getting to shine.
Yeah.
Including Mariner sort of being, not just being called out on her behaviour, but accepting that she's been called out on it.
Yeah.
And you don't just get it in the scene with Boimler and Tendi and Rutherford, you get her admitting to what she's like with Jen as well, which I like.
Yeah. So yes, we'll be taking a break for a few weeks, as we've mentioned before, because we're moving and, we don't quite know when the internets will be up and running again. But the plan, providing we are up and running by then, is to cover Discovery Season 4. I keep forgetting what number it is, but it is 4, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Which broadcasts around about the 18th?
19th, I think, in this
18th, 19th
country.
of November. So, yeah, the week after that we'll be up and running with us, I suspect. But if you follow us on Twitter or on Facebook, you'll find out from there.
Basically, once our internet is up, we'll be like, hello, internet, we're running, and then we'll give you some dates.
Yes. But also there's that chance to meet up with us on the 13th at Destination Star Trek.
Yes, we will be there because it's in London and so are we.
Yes, going to make sense. So if you do want to meet up, do get in touch. DM us on Twitter or send us a Facebook message and we'll arrange to meet up.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, until next time, cheery bye.
Bye, bye. The art for Borgcast Lower Decks is the fantastic work of Charlie Thorburn.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
We have a Facebook group which you're welcome to join.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
How did you know I needed you so badly? How did you know I'd give my heart gladly? Yesterday I was one of the lonely people. Now you're lying close to me, making love to me. I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles.
Shut it down!
Such fucking bullshit!